Have you ever considered if Jacob was in on the plot to sell Joseph into slavery? Key verses. Israel said to Joseph, "Your brothers are tending their herds in Shechem. Go, I will send you to them." And he said to him, "I am here." The brothers saw that he was loved more than the other brothers, and they hated him. They were unable to speak peacefully to him. His brothers were jealous of him. His father remembered the issue. And he recognized it and said, "This is the garment of my son." An evil animal ate him. Joseph was shredded into pieces. A convincing case can be made that Joseph never contacted his father Jacob during his years in Egypt, when he could easily have reached him, because he felt Jacob was part of the effort to sell him into slavery. Joseph must have had plenty of time to think, sitting in an Egyptian prison, incarcerated, alone. How did I get here? He sent me alone to Shechem? A dangerous journey for a lone young man, 17 years old, to see my brothers, who all hated me? Aren't your brothers shepherding in Shechem? Go, and I will send you to them. What was the purpose of being sent to them anyway? To go from Hebron to Shechem carried great risks. Kidnapping, murder, days of travel, sleeping under the stars. Anything could have happened. To be sent to Shechem, where we massacred the whole town? Where vengeance on our family must have been constantly on the minds of the survivors? Why was I sent there? The multicolored coat. The favorite. Once Rachel, my mother, died, my father must have changed. He wanted to get rid of me. And now I'm gone, far away, in an Egyptian prison. Joseph's thoughts. What he didn't know was that his father didn't even send out a search party to look for him. He didn't try to find the body to bury it. Why didn't he demand that the brothers find his corpse? Why didn't he send someone to speak to the locals to find out if they knew what happened? Maybe he could get closure. Maybe Joseph wasn't dead, but hurt and in need of help. What kind of a father wouldn't do these things? If Joseph had known this, there would have been no doubt. None. Jacob wanted him out of the family, out of his life. He got his wish. This was a setup. Only when the brothers arrive in Egypt for food does Joseph learn that Jacob was fed lies about his disappearance. It's years later. The report on Joseph's disappearance to their father was believable. An animal certainly could have killed him. These things happened all the time. But it doesn't answer the question. Why did he send him? Who would send his 17-year-old son on an errand by foot anywhere in the world, 50 miles away? You probably wouldn't even if he had a car. If Joseph had really been his favorite, how could Jacob have taken such a risk with him? Why did he do it? Was Jacob all of a sudden concerned about his 10 sons' welfare? There was a falling out after the Reuben-Bilhah affair. The 10 sons had become more distant. They were spending more time away. But this was a band of warriors, 2 of whom alone wiped out the entire village of Shechem. Now the brothers had mysteriously returned to the scene of the crime to graze. This is a red flag. Something bad or crooked is going on. Jacob had to have smelled it. Jacob had removed his family from the area in order to avoid anyone taking revenge. This is the last place a young man associated with the murderers should be sent alone. What exactly are the brothers up to? Have they returned to Shechem for peaceful reasons? These brothers are an army unto themselves. When they arrive in Egypt, one of Joseph's fears, according to the commentators, was that if he raised their ire too much with his accusations, they might engage the Egyptians in battle and do significant damage. No father would send a lone son into this situation. Yet, that's exactly what Jacob did. Can one think Jacob didn't consider these factors before sending Joseph? Years later, when Jacob sends his sons to Egypt for food, he doesn't send Benjamin, quote, because he said an accident could happen. Traveling posed great risks, even to a group of 10 adult males who had fighting experience. Jacob knew Joseph was hated. Before Joseph's second dream, the brothers couldn't speak peacefully to him at all. There's no possibility that a father could not see this dynamic. Between one son and Joseph, maybe. Maybe you might not notice that. But between 10 sons and Joseph? No chance. Even Jacob got upset about the dream. which had him, his wife, and all the brothers bowing down to Joseph. He certainly would have known at that point that just as he was unhappy, the brothers were livid over Joseph's visions. And these were dangerous men. Jacob didn't dismiss the dream as a child's fancy. He didn't forget the incident. He preserved it. It was festering for him. He didn't like what was going on with Joseph. Dreams were of great significance in this society, especially in this family. Perhaps Jacob was in on it. Hold on. It's a huge leap to go from admitting Jacob was disturbed, even greatly, by the dream, to conclude he wanted his favorite son killed. Maybe something here is being overlooked. Jacob carried grudges. He remained angry with Reuben, Simon, and Levi to the day of his death, nearly 50 years later. Could such a person turn on his favorite son? Were Joseph's dreams that insulting to him? Maybe that's when things changed. The fact that Rachel was no longer alive to use her charms to pacify Jacob also helps produce a conclusion that Jacob wanted to get rid of Joseph. How did Jacob react to the news of Joseph's death? A torn and bloody robe was enough to convince him that Joseph was dead? In fact, the sons don't say that Joseph is dead. It's Jacob who says it. It's my son's garment. An evil beast has devoured him. Joseph is without doubt torn in pieces. It's almost as if he had the story planned in advance. Perhaps he did. Then he proceeds to mourn Joseph. One might think that the mourning period for Jacob began when he sent Joseph out the door by himself on this dangerous journey. When his brothers appear in Egypt, it's more than 20 years later. Joseph had never contacted his family. He never sent a letter to his father. "Dad, I'm alive." Was Joseph right not to contact his father? He could have. He had the power to send a messenger. Maybe Jacob was in on it. Maybe he wasn't. But by keeping his back turned to his family, Joseph certainly had most of the story figured out.